a Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
There are times when you're speaking that you can misspeak. There are even times when there are Freudian slips where you let something out you didn't mean for that to happen. This wasn't a misspeak, and this wasn't a Freudian slip. This was on purpose.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
Kamala Harris. I know they want to call her now Kamala. Kamala Harris, the vice presidential nominee running alongside Joe Biden, did not have a Freudian slip when she said in a Harris administration working with Joe Biden. That was not a Freudian slip. Again, watch her carefully. Look at the body language. She is reading a prepared statement. Here it is again.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
The Biden campaign is in trouble. Serious trouble. Don't doubt me on this. This is exactly why this happened. Now, to set all of the narrative for this, I've got to give you the context to build your understanding so that you get why this was done on purpose. Biden has gotten a lot of bad news lately. I mean, we won't even talk about the historic peace signing that went on with President Trump and Israel and two Arab nations. I mean, an historic event that no other American president has been able to pull off like ever, not without forcing Israel to basically give up everything. And that went even with Presidents Bush and Clinton. I mean, Obama, hated Israel, so we knew nothing was going to happen during an Obama administration. But what Trump did today, that's huge. Or as Trump would say, huge. It's huge. The media's not going to give it its proper attention. We already know that. But Biden is in real trouble. And let me explain. When he's now out of the basement, and remember, they were going to ride this out in his basement. He wasn't going to do any events. He was going to be the one that was showing prudency during a pandemic, wearing the mask even in his own bunker while talking to the American people via Skype and really not doing a good job at it. And you can't understand how that's possible because Hollywood loves liberal Democrats, and you know that Steven Spielberg himself would have gone to Biden's home and directed this thing and put it together. But, Democrats, though, they're such an arrogant, condescending bunch that, some little snivel twit that works on the Biden campaign, I can do it. And they've been utter fiascos. He's been caught wearing earpieces. He's been caught, answering questions while reading off the teleprompter as if he already knew the question he was going to be asked, being fed the questions in his ear like it was the movie The Emperor's Club, cheating on the big exam. He had to leave the bunker because polling-wise, he's in huge trouble. They got like Adolf Hitler. And I'm not talking about the Nazi type of over-the-top regime policies, but Hitler, at the end of his life, living in his bunker, believed his own propaganda. He believed that the German people would fight to the bitter end and that somehow, miraculously, he would emerge victoriously. It wasn't until the waning hours that the reality finally settled in that, Germany was lost. He believed his own propaganda. The Biden campaign had been creating propaganda that CNN and PMSNBC and the rest of the news was willing to just blather out there as fact. He's dominating Trump in the polls. He's never been dominating Trump in the polls. Never. That was all fantasy. It's all fictitious. Any of these polls where you see Biden is it's I'll use a Biden term. It's malarkey. They needed to get him off the stage because remember, before COVID, he was just constantly open mouth, insert leg. I mean, it was just, everything from, I'm going to beat up corn pop to I like it when little black girls rub my hairy legs. I mean, it was just creepy stuff, sniffing women, and another woman coming forward about, basically that he raped her with his hand. Just unbelievable. They had to get him off the stage. He's mentally, he doesn't have the acuity to do this. So they were going to ride it out in the bunker, believing their own baloney that he's dominating in the polls. Well, the reality began to settle in. Trump began doing rallies again. And notice how Trump is, he's just so good at this. He wanted to do his first big comeback rally, but they scared everybody in coming. But they wouldn't talk about the dominant 60 million people that watched it online. That didn't get any press coverage. So what did Trump do? Well, he'll it started with the convention, 2,000 people on the lawn of the White House after Joe Biden spoke in an empty room and then went out and waved at people who were sitting in their cars. Yeehaw. My, how visually inspiring. Nope. But Trump had the visual inspiration and phenomenal, incredible, awesome fireworks display to cap it off. Then he started doing outdoor rallies at airplane hangars, 1,500 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people. His last rally, indoors, 5,000 people. The governor, his head about exploded. And Trump basically said at this point, I'm the president. This is happening. And you're going to watch. He's going to keep pushing that envelope, and he's going to keep these rallies going. And what the rallies are doing are a couple of things. It is showing a return to normalcy, and that is resonating with the American people. Biden and the Democrats and the media and lunatics like Newsom in California and Cuomo in New York are under this delusion that the American people feel safe and protected. No, only libloons and only snowflakes like all of this. Wear the mask, wear it wherever you go. No, most sane people do not like this. They don't want to be part of this. They want their lives back. And by Trump having the regular rallies again, it sends that message. Do not live in fear. Live your life. We're watching the economy come back where it's being allowed to operate again, and it's coming back bigger, badder, bolder than ever. And people in California are starting to get it. Like, hey, if our governor would actually open the state, we could get this thing rolling again. So the American people, they're seeing the riots in the streets under Democratic-controlled cities and states. They're seeing the suppression of the economy in Democratic-controlled states and cities. And they're looking around and they're seeing the red states. And even though I live in a red state and gripe and grumble that our governor hasn't done enough to open, and he hasn't, but it's still a whole lot better than living in a place like California or New York, where things are allowed to return to normal. It's awesome. Businesses are coming back, and people's quality of life is drastically improving. And by Trump being out there doing regular rallies, that is resonating with the American people. That is thus eroding support from Joe Biden. So what does he do when he goes out? He's delivering pizzas to firehouses. He's having backyard meetings where he's sitting in a lawn chair with a mask on, and there's 5 other people, 15 feet apart from each other. And he thinks that this is winning over the American people, that he's showing prudency. Can I tell you that I've watched some TV with some young people, and they get mad when they see TV commercials where there's masks on. My daughter and I last night were watching one of those flip a house home improvement shows, and they filmed it during the quote-unquote pandemic. And for the most part, nobody's wearing a mask, but when they had to go to the store, and apparently the store is a sponsor of the show, it was a Sherwin-Williams paint store, she put her mask on as she sat in the car and waited for the paint to be delivered out to her car. And of course, the guy delivering the paint, he had a mask on, and my daughter was flipping out. Like, get the mask off. Yeah. Notice that most TV commercials and shows and movies, the people are maskless. Even Hollywood knows the American people ain't buying this. They don't want this. This is being done under force, and they get it, that this mask is just a symbol of fear. So Joe constantly wearing the mask and showing indecisive fear. The American people ain't buying it. You know where he is today? He's in Tampa. You know why he's in Tampa? Because he's hemorrhaging big time with the Latino vote. Thousands of supporters showed up for Joe Biden. Not his supporters. Trump supporters. Bet you won't see that on the news tonight. How is Donald Trump? How is he making this inroad with Latinos? The Latinos ought to hate him. No, the Latinos get it. I've said all along that Spanish Americans who came here legally appreciate a president that demands other people come here legally. Play by the rules. So you have Kamala Harris in Arizona. And she says, in a Harris administration, that was on purpose. That was to let big money Democrats, that was to let mainstream Democrats know Joe is a Trojan horse. He is a puppet on a string. He is not going to be calling the shots. What's she doing in Arizona? Oh, that's right. No, supposedly Biden's ahead there. He ain't ahead. The president's been in Arizona. The media's not talking about it. He's been holding Latinos for Trump roundtable events, building inroads into Latino communities for jobs and a better way of life and a better economy and bringing them in and part of the American dream. And what was Kamala Harris doing? You know, talking about, we won't, in a Biden administration, we won't put kids in cages and we won't do this and we won't do that. And then she said the Harris administration.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
Again, this was not a Freudian slip. This was done on purpose. This was a signal. I'll use a Nancy Botox Pelosi. This was a dog whistle to mainstream Democrats who they know how bad election night's going to be for them. They know. And by Kamala doing this, they're hoping to get enough sane Democrats to stand with them that maybe they can at least make enough of a respectable show out of it that they have legitimate reason to then engage Eric Holder and this team of lawyers which are standing by to contest the election. Isn't it amazing? The media is always asking Trump, and they're so worried that if he loses, he won't leave the White House, yet the Democrats will never admit when Trump has won. How does that work? It's amazing. But I think what they're so afraid of, and why Joe is having to go out and actually campaign now, and why Kamala is out there saying what she's saying. You laughed at me when I hinted at this a few weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again. I think they know that the internal polling is so bad, they're even scared that Trump flips New York and California. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In other words, they can't let the landslide be so overwhelming election night that they can't sell the idea of, well, we can't certify this yet. Biden can't concede yet. This is going to take months of litigation, special counsel, and investigation. Get ready for President Pelosi. They know the American people absolutely, positively will not tolerate that. So what they're trying to do, especially if it's this huge, massive landslide, so what they got to try to do is shore up Biden's campaign is hemorrhaging. May not be bleeding money, but it's bleeding support. Nobody is inspired by this dude. And the debates, if they happen at all, will be pathetic. And he'll figure out a way to try to have a teleprompter there. I think he should be screened on camera in front of all of us for earpieces. if they happen, Trump is going to mop the floor with Biden, and they know it. He's not going to be able to hold it together for 2 hours. He's just not. And Joe Rogan wants to host a 4-hour debate, which Trump has accepted, by the way. Bum, ba-dum, bum. And Rogan is hugely popular in the internet world and with young people, both left and right. How's Biden going to weasel out of this one? It's interesting. Trump's got him boxed on this one. And kudos to President Trump, who's been 10 steps ahead of these guys. I'm telling you, Biden is hemorrhaging, and they know it. And they know it's going to be a massive landslide. Why do you think they're talking about, oh, there might be the perception of a landslide for Trump on election night, but we can't concede?
The reason we talk about a red mirage is, in fact, because we believe that on election night, we are going to see Donald Trump in a stronger position than the reality actually is. We are sounding an alarm and saying that this is a very real possibility, that the data is going to show on election night an incredible victory for Donald Trump. That is likely to be what we see when every legitimate vote is tallied and we get to that final day, which will be some day after Election Day. It will, in fact, show that what happened on election night was exactly that, a mirage. It looked like Donald Trump was in the lead, and he fundamentally was not when every ballot gets counted.
You have a result on election night where it appears that Donald Trump has won, but a result after ballots are counted that show that Joe Biden has actually won.
That's right.
You know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch.
She thinks Biden will eventually win. Yeah, when they cheat, steal, and basically, threaten and intimidate the courts into giving it to him. That's where they're at right now, but they're so concerned now that the landslide is so going to be overwhelming. They've got to try to get more oomph for Biden, and they're hoping to hang on to the base, the sane part of the base, by saying this won't be Joe's presidency, this will be Harris's presidency. It's getting good. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a great big like. Hey, make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell to get notification of my next rant. And make sure, unmask.